Good evening everyone, and welcome to this video. We're going to be talking a little bit this week about the Garmin 400W series GPS platform. Okay, so what you're going to find here in highlighting the Garmin GNS, specifically the 430 WAS, the goal of this presentation is to provide the viewer and those new to the 430 GPS platform a very basic introduction to the unit's capabilities and features, and some of those include: what is WAS, what is the Garmin GNS 430W, how to use Navcom radios on the unit page groups, or in other words, how the unit's information is displayed, and lastly, building and activating a flight plan. Okay, so what is WAS? WAS stands for Wide Area Augmentation System and is made up of a couple dozen ground stations, and those are known as WRS, or Wide Area Ground Reference Stations. And these are strategically located around the country, and they compare their locations with GPS satellites and send the results to one of two master stations, otherwise known as Wide Area Master Stations, or WMS. Master stations create a correction calculation and uplink that information to a communication satellite, which then sends it to your aircraft. And quickly, here is a snapshot of WAS in action. I don't really know. You may or may not be able to see that very well. Okay, so as defined by the Airman's Information Manual, the FAA developed WAS to improve accuracy, integrity, and availability of GPS signals. WAS will allow GPS to be used as the aviation navigation system from takeoff through approach when it is complete. In other words, you don't have to fly part of your trip on GPS navigation and then use a VOR approach. WAS enables you to do this. So WAS is accurate to 1.25 meters horizontally, 2 meters vertically, with decision altitudes as low as 200 feet above ground level, and visibilities as low as half a mile. Okay, so in 2 sentences, I really wanted to just make this as simple as I could. What is a Garmin GNS 430W? So basically, it's a panel-mounted GPS unit that combines GPS navigation with communication, VHF, certified IFR WAS GPS, ILS, VOR, localizer, glide slope, and enhanced situational awareness with terrain features in one panel-mounted unit. And I'm not going to talk in this presentation. I'm not going to mention the terrain features any. You guys are going to see that. Those of you who have subscribed, you're going to see that in my later videos. And the 430, it interfaces with a standard OBS or HSI indicator. Okay, so using Navcom radio on the 430. Navcom radio frequency columns are displayed on the left side of the unit, and each window has a separate flip-flop button. The flip-flop button switches the standby frequency to the active, and standby frequencies are displayed in light blue. The active frequencies are displayed in white. Frequencies are tuned with the knob on the left side of the unit. The big knob changes big frequency numbers, and the little knob changes little numbers. Just like about any other Garmin unit, pretty well what you're used to. Pushing the small knob switches the tuning window or you'll see it as a light blue cursor. Switches it to the nav side of the radio if it's on the comm side, and vice versa. The comm and nav volume buttons are to the left of the comm and nav flip-flop buttons. You push these knobs to hear the squelch instead of pulling them, like, whereas on your old Bendix King radio you pull out the knob to hear the squelch. On the Garmin unit you push it in. And here's a picture of the unit, and if you look on the left hand side, you see the comm frequency box and the nav frequency box. And you'll want to note here that this picture is currently displaying the map page in the nav page group. You may or may not be able to see the labels on this picture well. So this is the left hand side knob that controls radio frequencies, and this controls GPS functions. This bar up here is consists of the map range buttons. Here's the menu button, direct to button, clear button, and enter button. Oh, and also here are the flip-flop keys. Comm flip-flop key, nav flip-flop key. Okay, so page groups. Information on the GNS 430W is stored and displayed much like other Garmin models in unit page groups. So if you look on the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you'll see something like nav, with a few outline boxes to the right of it. This is called a page index, and each white outline box indicates a page within a page group. Page groups include nav page group, waypoint page group, auxiliary page group, and nearest page group. Scrolling to each of these is done using the large enter knob on the right hand side of the unit, and you scroll to each page within a page group with the small knob. Okay, so the nav page group. This group contains the following pages, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what each of them contains. Page 1 is the default nav page, and this displays a graphic CDI at the top of this page. And full-scale deflection of the CDI depends on what phase of flight you're in. So the en route phase is 2 nautical miles. The terminal area phase is 1 nautical mile. And the approach phase is 0.3 nautical miles. Page 2, the map page, displays the airplane's position relative to airports, nav aids, airspace, bodies of water, highways, cities, etc. And the map can be scaled with the range knob, or not the range knob, but the range buttons, as I mentioned earlier, between a scale of 500 feet to 2,000 nautical miles. You press up to zoom out and down to zoom in. And you can also pan on the map page by pressing the small knob, which activates the cursor or the pointer, and then you scroll the pointer with the big and little knobs up, down, left, and right. Page 3, the NavCom page, provides a list of common nav frequencies for the airports and nav aids that are in your active flight plan, first off. And when you have the active flight plan, these are conveniently placed in the order that you're going to need them, so you don't have to go digging on a sectional or whatever or a facility directory to find the frequencies you need. And if you don't have an active flight plan selected, this page is going to display frequencies for the airport nearest to you. Okay, so to select frequencies, you press the small knob on the right hand side of the unit, and scroll with the big knob to the identifier field. Then select the airport by scrolling with the small knob, and then scroll with the big knob to the desired frequency. Press enter, and this places it in the standby window in the radio, and then you press the flip-flop button to make it active. Page 4 is the position page, and this shows information about your position in latitude, longitude, and altitude. And then at the top it also provides track information graphically, so it's going to look like an old school whiskey compass. Page 5 is the satellite status page, and this displays signal levels and allows the pilot to establish a normal pattern for system operation as described by the pilot's guide and reference. Page 6 is the VNAV page, and it is used for programming specific altitudes to be at when you cross over a specific waypoint in your flight plan. So you can have a specific altitude to step down to for every waypoint if you want, but you know that's only applied where it's practical. So, and it gives the unit's going to give you an alert on the default nav page to inform you of your progress as you go along here. The waypoints page group provides information regarding anything that can be added into a flight plan as a waypoint. So airports, navies, intersections, just as a few examples. And its pages include airport location, runway, frequency, approach, arrival, departure, intersection, NDB, VOR, and user waypoints, which are specific waypoints that you've programmed into the unit that you can use. And then to access each of these pages, you use the same big and little knob procedures to get to the waypoints and load them into your flight plan. And here's a picture of the airport location page in the waypoints page group. The auxiliary page group. So this page allows the pilot to change unit settings and basically customize the unit to your personal preference. And it includes E6B functions, trip planning, fuel planning, density, altitude, true airspeed, and winds aloft calculations. And its 4 pages include 1, flight planning, 2, utility, and the last 2 are the setup pages. And those are ones that allow you to, for example, set alarms when you are changing airspace, or just as an example. Here is the flight planning page in the auxiliary page group, just as an example. And some of these pictures are coming right out of the 2016 400W series pilot's guide and reference, just to give that credit. The nearest page group. So the nearest page group displays information for the 25 nearest airports, VORs, NDBs, intersections, and user waypoints within 200 nautical miles of your position, and also includes information for the 5 nearest flight service stations and centers, special use airspace, and controlled airspace. Its 8 pages include the airport page, intersection, NDB, VOR, user waypoint, center, flight service station, and airspace pages. And here is pictured the nearest airport page in the nearest page group. Okay, so the flight plans page group. The flight plan page group is the 5th page group that hasn't been mentioned, and you don't necessarily access it the same way you do the other 4. You just simply press the FPL or flight plan button, and its 2 pages include 1, the active flight plan page, and 2, the flight plan catalog. The 430 can store up to 20 program flight plans, each having 100 waypoints each. And here is the active flight plan page in the page group. Okay, so building a new flight plan. First off, you press the flight plan button and turn the small knob to display the flight plan catalog. Then press menu to display catalog options. Then turn the big knob to highlight create new flight plan and then press enter. Then use the small and big knobs to enter the departure waypoint identifier and press enter again. And you're going to use this same procedure to enter each waypoint into the flight plan. Then you press the small knob to return to the catalog, and press the small knob again to activate the cursor. It's not already, and highlight which flight plan you want to choose with the big knob. Then you press menu with that flight plan highlighted, and then turn the big knob to highlight activate flight plan and press enter. Almost got tongue-tied there. Okay, so here is a picture of the flight plans page as if you were entering waypoints. Okay, so the clear button. I haven't mentioned this yet, but if anytime you get confused or lost in one of the unit's page groups when you're trying to perform a task, simply